I'm Steve Gottlieb. I actually learned about Arrowmont itself when I was taking a wood turning class with David Ellsworth in his studios in Pennsylvania. And we got to talking about Arrowmont and what it meant to him and his involvement with the school, because he at the time and still is a major instructor here. So this was 20 plus years ago. Sometime not long after that class with Ellsworth, I was chatting with my wife and said, it would be nice if people who don't have much money might be able to afford to go to Arrowmont and take classes, particularly in wood turning, because I was interested in that at the time. And she agreed, so we set up an arrangement to come visit here and find out if Arrowmont was willing to establish a scholarship the way I wanted the scholarship to be established, and that was for economically underprivileged young adults. And we negotiated with the school, and the school was very open to it, and we did, in fact, at that time, create that particular scholarship. And that particular scholarship is now oriented more toward veterans, and particularly wounded ones, because that was where it needed to go. And the needs really were to see if we could come up with a way in which we could help returning veterans. So we just opened it up that way. Well, I can relate one specific story. There was a gentleman, veteran, who came to Arrowmont this was about 5 years back. And he was in pretty bad shape physically, but in a whole lot worse shape mentally and emotionally. And he took a turning class. Actually, it was a pen turning class. And it seemed to have made a difference to him. He left the class saying good things. He asked to come back the next year, and we did have him back. And he was an entirely different person. Physically worse off. He was confined to a wheelchair. We'd also established a sit-down lathe, a wheelchair-capable lathe in the studio, so that he or others like him could have that. And he came back and said that in the intervening year, he had turned his life around. He had actually opened up a business of making and selling these pens he was turning. And now he wanted to learn how to make even fancier ones and better ones. That's what we hoped would happen, and it does in fact happen. Part of our capital campaign is geared at expanding that scholarship for veterans. If you're interested in becoming a donor, the obvious, simple answer is, well, make a donation. And if you're interested in veterans, say you want it to go toward veterans. That's the easy part. If you don't know enough about Arrowmont, one of the things you might want to seriously consider is come and take a class. And it doesn't really matter what it is, and you don't have to be an expert or a quote real artist. Just come, take the class, enjoy the experience, because you will, and you will then want to donate money. I'll give you an example. A couple of instructors, pen turners by the way, like Arrowmont so well, they have been coming back year after year as instructors. And every year they come back, they donate their fee, and they challenge their class to match their fee. And those donations have occurred. So they've never walked away from teaching here with a profit. They've left with a comfortable mental attitude that they've done something good, and indeed they have. It has been an interesting experience to be at Arrowmont over these last years, from having to purchase the land that we're on, a little 13-acre plot in the middle of Gatlinburg that is separated from the rest of the world when you're here, and in a situation when we weren't doing particularly well, to being now one of the top-rated schools, financially in the black, with positive financial growth year over year. So it's been very good to see, and God willing, we will continue to do that.